Well, as you can see, I'm not in the woods today. I'm actually right here in my own backyard. Today's video is going to be the start of a new playlist that I'm creating titled Campfire Cooking. This first video in the playlist is going to feature dirty steak and eggs. Now, some people might think that steak is a little fancy for the woods, but it can actually make a really good end of the day one meal. Now, I say end of the day one because typically when I take a steak, even in the hottest part of the summer, I will freeze it the night before and then pack it in my bag frozen that morning, knowing that it will thaw out during the day as I hike and camp and it'll be ready to eat that night. For my eggs, I used a breakfast shake container. I have 2 eggs in here. They're already pre-scrambled and I've already added salt and pepper. But what I'll do, similar to the steak, is I will freeze this the night before and then pack it away in my pack frozen so it can thaw out during the day. For the steak, I've got it wrapped in some tin foil and in a Ziploc bag. Now just make sure that if you're going to take these items out into the woods and in your backpack frozen, realize that as the steak thaws out, the juices will start to run from the steak. So I would encourage you to double up your layers at least of the Ziploc containers and then possibly even pack it into a dry pack so that it doesn't leak out. You don't want those juices leaking into your backpack and all over your camping gear. So now it's time to start the fire. I'm going to begin by laying a base of wood pieces. I'm using 4 wood pieces here to form a platform. This serves 2 purposes. First, it will keep the wood off of the wet ground, and it will also form a base of coals that you can cook your steak on. Next, I've set 1 piece of wood here perpendicular to the other pieces so that it can be used as a prop for the rest of the wood. Now I'm going to take my fire steel and I have some birch bark that I'm going to use to start my fire. First, the small pieces go on, then some of my medium pieces. Some of my large pieces using kind of a teepee formation. Now, I'm gonna let this burn down for just a few minutes, make sure that it catches well before I put my extra large pieces of wood on. If it ever seems like your fire is starting to go out, it's probably because it's not getting enough oxygen, and you can either reshape your wood pieces carefully on top or just blow a little air right underneath. And that should perk the fire right back up. One thing to keep in mind when cooking steak on the coals is the amount of time it takes for wood to burn down to form those coals. I usually factor in about 30 minutes of burn time to form the coals, and then about 10 to 15 minutes or so of cooking time. I would make sure that you're starting your fire about 45 minutes before you're ready to eat. So one thing that you can do with your time while waiting for the fire to cook down is to create a homemade wooden plate to eat your steak off of. I know that a lot of people do pack camping plates with them. I just really like carrying as little gear as possible, and a plate, if you have the wood, is really not that difficult to make. Start by taking a good piece of wood that is cut into half. We're going to use our axe to baton the wood and take a slice off right here, forming a flat plate that we can eat on. So obviously, as you can see, the batoning was a lot tougher than I expected with this piece of wood. This is a piece of birch. It is a hardwood. I'm not necessarily fighting the grain, but it is a tough piece of wood. So I am gonna take a log or something out in the field that's sturdy and then continue, and this is moving, it's just slow, and then continue to bang the axe down until it splits. It's coming. There it is. There we go. And what's happened now is that we've cut the curve off. We have a nice flat surface area that'll sit in our lap, and we can place our steak right on there and eat right off of the plate. Okay, so the fire's probably another maybe 10 minutes away from being right where I need it for my coals. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep my steak and my eggs. Let's start with the eggs. I'm gonna cook the eggs in one of my favorite camping, backpacking cooking items. This is the 12 centimeter zebra billy pot. Comes with a lid, an interior dish, and usually what I do is I can store some items in the pot itself. What I have stored in here right now is actually not baking powder. This is a container of some lard. I prefer to use lard because it holds its form even in the heat compared to butter. So I'm gonna cook the eggs in the dish. So I'm gonna take just a little lard, put it in the dish, and rub it around so that the eggs don't stick to the pan. Next, I'm gonna take some water and I'm gonna pour it into the bottom of my pot. I won't need a lot, just a couple of inches of water. Next, I'll take my eggs and I'm gonna pour the eggs into my dish. The dish is going to sit right on top, and then I am going to place the lid on top as well. The coals will boil the water, which will steam the eggs, and will cook it like a double broiler, nice and easy, and the eggs will turn out really soft. I'm going to spice the steak. I keep in my backpack a small container of Montreal steak spice. I'm gonna season the top of my ribeye, flip it over, and season the bottom side. Now my coals are looking ready to roll. I'm gonna take a stick or another piece of wood and just kind of spread the coals out a bit, forming a nice bed of coals for my steak and my zebra pot to rest on. I've got my zebra pot on. Now I'm gonna take my steak and lay it right on the coals there. So it's currently 12:02, and I'm gonna give it 5 minutes on this first side, then flip it and give it about 5 minutes on the other side. So we will flip at 12:07. Okay, we're coming up right here on 12:07. It smells really good. I'm gonna go ahead and flip the steak. It'll have some coals that stick to it, just brush those off. Looks like it's cooking nicely. We're gonna chat back in about another 5 minutes, so that would be 12 minutes after 12. We're closing in on 12 minutes after noon. Let's go ahead and just flip the steak over, take a peek at the bottom side. Now, it appears that the bottom side didn't cook nearly as quickly as the front side. And so what I'm going to do, set my zebra can aside. This was the second side. And I'm gonna set those where the zebra can was and just swap places. I'm doing this because where the steak had cooked on the first side, some of these coals could have cooled off some. So by swapping places, these are still warm. I'm gonna leave it on for another couple of minutes. Of course, the cooking time will depend on the size of your steak and how you like your steak. I like mine medium, but just remember that you can always cook it for more, but if you overcook it, there's nothing you can do. Let's check our eggs. Oh, our eggs are looking fantastic. Okay, it's about 12:15, and so I am going to pull my zebra pot off, and I'm just picking the cleanest side of my wood plate, and I'm going to set the eggs onto that plate. All right, my eggs are plated, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab that steak. Before putting it on your plate, now's the time when you can take your spork and scrape some of those coals off. This top side here, that's pretty clean. Then put it on your plate. Oh my, my, my. And then do the same. I know I'm scraping off a little of the seasoning as well, but I'm getting the majority of the coals off. And friends, that is ready to eat. I am taking my plate of deliciousness onto my patio where it's nice and shady. And I have my glass of sweet tea, so I'm now not in camping mode. But let's cut into a piece of this and see how we did. Oh, friends, that looks all right to me. This particular piece is maybe medium well. Just a tiny bit of pink. Now's the part where I get to make you jealous. Let's try a bite of that. Good flavor. Let's try a bite of this egg with it. They pair well together. This is a good combination. I'm not gonna make you sit here and watch me eat my meal. I hope you enjoyed watching, and go out and try this out in the field. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe for more content. We'll see you later. Holy smokes, dudes. I almost forgot to tell you the most important part about using a wooden plate. Doing the dishes is super, super easy. Doing the dishes is really, really easy. Damn it. Doing the dishes is really, really easy. Money.